So back in 2017, a bipartisan select committee with National and Labour MPs looked at gun laws in New Zealand, and they identified what they considered to be a significant and concerning loophole. The loophole essentially allowed someone on a Category A gun licence, the most basic level gun licence, to buy a gun and then to separately buy components like a high-capacity magazine that would turn that gun into what was then known as a military-style semi-automatic or an assault rifle. After they made the recommendations to close that loophole, you lobbied the government, asking them not to change that loophole. The government took your advice. They rejected the Select Committee's recommendations. 2 years later, Brenton Tarrant took advantage of that very loophole that was identified by the Select Committee, the one that you lobbied to keep, and he killed 51 people. So why should I believe that you will keep the rest of New Zealand public safe?
Because everything that you just said there is actually wrong. Since 2012, I've been part...
It's really interesting to watch this. There is a shell game here that goes on about weapons and magazines and high capacity magazines and weapons, and it's a little bit like there's some, no, this time we're talking about this. No, this time we're talking about this. Oh, no, this time we're talking about weapons. Oh, no, you're wrong. We're talking about magazines here. No, but the magazine can't be in the weapon. It's, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like A-class lobbying. Sounds like
100%.
A-class, yeah. I know how to talk around this issue and never actually acknowledge anything. That's what it sounds like.
Part of a group that has actually been asking New Zealand Police to make sure that high-capacity magazines were not available to people with standard licences. Right up until March the 14th, 2019, I sat in a meeting where we again advocated for that to be tightened. When we talk about the 2017 inquiry, that was an inquiry into the illegal possession of firearms by criminals, and that particular loophole itself was something that we wanted to support and said needed to be tidied up, and I had been advocating for 7 years for that to be tidied up. We were told by New Zealand Police that it couldn't happen because the horse had already bolted.
Right. So you say that when you lobbied the minister at the time, that you argued to close that loophole?
Definitely.
Okay,
and
so
I have
why
been
did you release
arguing
this video?
since 2012.
Shortly after you lobbied the minister, you made a post on the Colfo Facebook page. We've got a video of it here. Here's what you had to say.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole McKee and I really, really like guns. Wanted to give you a bit of an update about a meeting that Jeff Thomas and I had with the Minister of Police, Paula Bennett, this afternoon. So just wanted to let you know that a lot of the concerns on some of those really controversial recommendations are likely to be gone. So we just can stay calm on those ones.
Now, you were 100% right on that, of course, because shortly after the minister announced that she would be rejecting the Select Committee's advice, on the Colfo Facebook page, once again, quote, the minister's
they said that very quickly. Shortly after the minister decided she would reject the advice. National Party. You think it sounds familiar there, Chewy? Reject the advice.
Absolutely. Don't need advice. Advice is just there so the lobby groups can decide what they don't want.
And whether you can or can't link lobbyists to the decision that National went with, either way, they went with it. So, okay, so what? They didn't take the advice of the lobbyists? No, they just happened to do exactly what they wanted. But again, the previous John Key national government advice rejected when it comes to guns.
Independent advisors, that's you, are pleased that the minister has rejected 12 recommendations. Their advice was to reject a couple more than the 12.
Yep, that's right.
So you lobbied the minister to maintain that loophole.
I advised the minister. So there's a difference between being a lobbyist being brought in.
See the shell game there? No. Advised. Not lobbied. So no, not lobbied, not advised. Suggested. Hang on. Chewy, thesaurus. Lobbied, advised, suggested. Challenged. Thought would be a good idea.
The time.
But be totally clear with us. Did you support the recommendation when you spoke with the minister? And to your point, the minister, after receiving the Select Committee recommendations, sought independent advice and appointed you as a gun lobby spokesperson to provide that independent advice. That's what happened, right?
She did not appoint me as a gun lobbyist. She appointed me as an independent contractor to New Zealand Police delivering firearm safety education on their behalf.
And so when you provided the minister with that advice, did you advise the minister to scrap that recommendation?
I advised the minister that they needed to put high capacity magazines.
That's not the question. Sorry, the question is, did you advise the minister to reject that recommendation?
No. There was no recommendation specifically around high-capacity magazines.
No. Oh, you've read the Select Committee report. I'll read you the recommendation. Quote, we recommend to the government that the police investigate the creation of a category of restricted semi-automatic firearm to replace the MSSA firearm endorsement category.
Okay, that's not high-capacity magazines, though, Jack, and I think that's where the confusion is. So we
It's not-
already
no,
have...
no, so again, I've got the select committee report here. So they talk about, here in particular, the way MSSAs are currently classified raises 3 grounds for concern. First ground for concern, A category firearms can be converted to MSSAs by people purchasing high-capacity magazines
Yes.
and using them on their category A firearm. So very clearly, they came with that recommendation. We recommend to the government the police investigate the creation of a category of restricted semi-automatic firearm. If that category had been created, do you accept that Brenton Tarrant might not have been able to access the guns he used on March 15?
Brenton Tarrant would have been able to access the firearms. Brenton Tarrant should not have been able to access the high-capacity magazine. And I will go back to the 7 years of advocacy on the magazines themselves. That recommendation is about the firearms. We're talking about the magazines.
So under that recommendation, just going, I've got all the paperwork
And read
here.
the
Select
recommendation
committee options.
again.
So this is the bit where there's a slight, she changes the goalposts here, and in changing the goalposts, even though she doesn't say it, she acknowledges that Jack's right. You have a listen. This has only got 30 seconds to go.
About the magazines.
So under that recommendation, just going, I've got all the paperwork
And read
here.
the
Select committee
recommendation
options.
again.
Okay, restricting all firearms with detachable magazines.
Restricting all firearms with detachable magazines.
That's one of the
That's not
recommendations.
about the magazines themselves.
It's
There's
restricting all
a
firearms
difference there.
with detachable magazines.
And it's how do you go about doing that? Because the majority of firearms in New
Well,
Zealand
we've done it since March
restricted,
19th, right? We've said you actually you're not able to purchase those high-capacity
and we're in a bit of a
magazines.
mess in the way that they've gone about doing it, Jack.
There you go. Goalpost shift. So yes, Jack just said we've done it, and she said yes, we have done it, but there's been a mess up. In other words, what I was just saying you couldn't do, we've done. Goalpost shift, and isn't it terrible?
It is absolutely standard to what the NRA and their lobbyists have done in the US. Is they won't make common sense rules around these because they will focus on, say, the pistol grips, right? So,
Yeah.
so when you see like there's a weird little strap of material that joins the buttstock to the pistol grip, so it's a single piece. It's not a pistol grip at that point. The gun lobby is and the gun manufacturers are excellent at adapting their products to changes in the law. And the best way for them to be able to do that is when the lobbyists come in and they start fiddling around. What is a pistol grip? What is a collapsible stock? What is a high capacity magazine? And they'll quibble and they'll move those pieces around, and it just muddies the water over what's happening. And then you get the gun lobby or the gun manufacturers adapting their products to fit that. The one thing that they can't adapt their products for is something that is a lot more open, like let's just, okay, so magazines are the problem. Let's ban all weapons with a detachable magazine.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority of gun owners and the vast majority of the non-gun owning public can understand that. That's easy to enforce. Who has a problem with it? The gun sellers, the gun manufacturers, because they know how open that is, how clear that is to understand, and how effective that would be.